help but wonder where I'm bound, where I'm bound. Can't help but wonder where I'm bound.
All right, everyone, welcome to What's the Rush podcast, where we get to explore the spaces in between. And we talk about the stuff that isn't always showcased for high achievers, the discoveries that happen maybe in the stillness after the summit. I'm Rebecca Rusch. I'm an explorer, an athlete, entrepreneur, and I'm your teammate in this adventure today. And today I feel so lucky to get to talk to two amazing human beings, Emily Harrington and Adrian Ballinger, climbing's husband and wife super duo. Great people that I had the pleasure of meeting in person a couple of weeks ago. Adrian's a world-class mountaineer, founder of Alpenglow Expeditions. He summited Everest 10 times, skied and made oxygen-free ascents of some of the biggest mountains in the world. And he's pushed the edges of human performance and kind of redefined risk management in the mountains, developing innovative ways for people to climb in extreme altitudes. And Emily, indoor climbing phenom, 5-time national champion, second in worlds, outdoor climbing, some of the hardest rock climbs in the world, and also summited Everest. She is also the first woman to free climb Golden Gate on El Cap in less than 24 hours. That is captured in her brand new film, Girl Climber. And they are both filmmakers, creators, explorers, entrepreneurs, and also parents to a 2-year-old Aero, a new adventure in their life. So welcome to the podcast, Adrian and Emily. I'm so happy to talk to you today.
Thanks for having us. We're super excited.
I'm so excited. So I've had, like most of these podcasts, so much fun exploring and studying you, which has been really great. Going back and listening to stories and podcasts and your climbing expeditions, and you have these storied careers in climbing. And I want to dive into a little bit first, maybe what happens when your passion and your love, you both found climbing and skiing and outdoors at a really, really young age. And what happens when the thing that you love, that's your play and your joy, becomes your profession? So I want to dive a little bit into the maybe the benefits and some of the challenges for you both.
Okay, I'll go first. Yeah, so when you're fortunate enough to be able to kind of meld your passion with your career, I think it is a super fortunate occurrence. Like I feel so lucky and grateful to have been able to find rock climbing and then make it my career and something that I do all the time, both for love and for my profession. It's complicated, right? Like it's amazing and it's awesome, but it can also be quite stressful. It can also be quite difficult, especially when I was younger. Just kind of wrapping up my identity in my success as a rock climber and, how I make money. There's a lot of different pressures that can come from that, especially as a young person and a young athlete. And so there have been some struggles. There have been some growing pains. There's been a lot. It's been a mixed bag of good and bad. I would say like if you kind of like weighed the two, it's more good than bad. And I've learned a lot about myself, and I've learned a lot about kind of what I want out of life and what I want out of climbing. And it's definitely shaped me into who I am today. And it's been an amazing road. It's been a long road and a hard road, but it's also been pretty awesome.
Were there points where you lost the love for the sport?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
How do you find it again?
There were points when I lost the love for sure. I think in my early 20s, I was sort of transitioning from being a competition climber and a performance rock climber into a more adventure climber. And I'm really fortunate that I was able to kind of be exposed to that other avenue and those other disciplines of climbing. I think it kind of saved me in a way, because I was really burnt out, and it was a time for me to that's when I had the opportunity to go climb Mount Everest. And I actually rediscovered my love for skiing again, which I grew up a skier and then I abandoned it for rock climbing. And so I think the way I've dealt with it is by diversifying and exploring other aspects of my sport and kind of engaging in other things that are less focused on like pure performance and more focused on like learning and developing and having new experiences. And eventually I was able to come back around to like high performance rock climbing and really excel at it again in a way that I'm super proud of. But it's definitely been an evolution, I would say.
I love that you said that, because I mean, I think any career, there's a point where you get stagnant or you get bored or you feel the pressure or like you're not challenged anymore. And people have always asked me, I've been an athlete in the sports world or professional athlete for like 30 years, and they're like, well, how, are you cycle, you paddle, you rock climb? I started as a runner and a rock climber. But yeah, I think the diversification is such an important thing to take away, that when things start to feel boring or stagnant, it's time for a change. And I love that climbing offers, well, all sport offers so many different ways. Even cycling, you can be a downhiller, you can be an endurance, you can be gravel, you can be mountain bike. So I love that you've been able to stay in the sport and find the love by making it a change but not leaving it. I think that's a really kind of important way to stay in something that you love, instead of having to abandon it and do something totally different. Adrian,
Yeah.
what about you? You were intending, you were intending to go to med school and be a doctor and do a totally different career path. And then you kind of got swooped in with like a mentor and a friend, and you just took a totally different path.
That's exactly right. And my family's probably still waiting for when I'm going back to medical school, right? Like that was still the Christmas holiday conversation for many, many years. But my path, of course, finding these sports early and being really passionate about them, and then having a series of mentors that helped me to take steps and see what was possible in these sports, I feel so fortunate for. But really, what you were just discussing with them is a big part of why I think I've been able to have a 30-year career in climbing and skiing. It really is because of the diversity that I've always chosen. And I think that comes because very early on, I saw the mountain guiding side of the profession. So I've been lucky to be a sponsored athlete and a mountain guide and kind of get to develop both sides of myself in that way. And mountain guiding, the original form of mountain guiding, which comes from the Alps, really started in the 1800s in Europe. What a mountain guide was, a mountain guide always had to excel in all forms of human powered travel through the mountains. And for them, that meant alpine climbing, so snow and ice and glaciers. That meant rock climbing, kind of what M's focus has been. And that meant skiing, descending on skis from the mountains. You were not a mountain guide unless you excelled in all three of those. You couldn't be certified as a mountain guide. And so that was an influence on me since I was a teenager. So I immediately knew I didn't want to pigeonhole or specialize in one discipline. I wanted to do my best to play at a high level in all three disciplines. And what that's meant to my career is that, just like anyone, of course, if I've just guided, I used to do 9 groups back to back to back on 20,000 foot peaks in Ecuador. So they were 2-week long trips, and the clients would just cycle through. I would drop off one group on a Sunday night, pick up the next group of clients, and go right back into another 2-week trip. If I did just that for a decade, I don't know how you couldn't be burned out, no matter how much you love the experience and how good you are at it and how beautiful the mountains are. So the beauty for me was I could do that season, and then it was like, okay, now it's rock season, and I'm going to be guiding rock climbing in Las Vegas and in Colorado and places like that. And just when I start burning out on those too many days in rock climbing, I could shift in its ski season. And I would also shift from guiding others and being focused on their achievements to my own personal expeditions and trying to focus on my achievements. So there was also a shift of being really the focus being on other people, and then a pure focus on my own dreams.
I think, what I take from that too is you both have, obviously your super high personal achievements that you want to do individually. You're in these fields, but you're also, it's really important to you to give back and bring other people into the mountains. For you, Adrian, and also Emily with your film. I mean, I'm really interested in. That may not have felt like it was a giving back project while it was going on, because I have a feature film as well that I did with Red Bull, so we share that. I will say I want to give you props, because there are very few sports feature length documentaries with women as the central character in sport. And so bravo, amazing. And Girl Climber is massively, like, it's in IMAX, it's in theater, doing the theatrical release right now. You're on film tour, like, that's a big road. But I know that the climb actually happened over a number of years and you completed it a while ago, and filmmaking takes a while. So I'm interested in now coming back and watching people in the audience and sharing the film, and how is that shifted about being your project and your thing to now it's really a public offering. And can you reflect a little bit on that? Because I feel in alignment with you with the project that I did, and then when the film came out, it was two really different experiences of the same thing. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. It was pretty surreal, honestly. It's been a long road for sure, as you said, to the creation of the film. It's been a bit of a roller coaster. And yeah, I think at first this project was just mine. It was like this very personal, vulnerable thing that I had a film crew with me for, but they were such good friends of mine. Like the space just still felt so small and intimate
Yeah.
for so many years. And we had no idea that it would become the story that it did, and that it would reach so many people and that it would go to IMAX. And we just didn't know that the film would be like quite this successful. So it really has changed. It has become like this thing that doesn't. It's still mine. It's still my story to an extent, but it's also not, right. Like the film, I wasn't in charge of much of the way that the film was portrayed and the way the story went. I'm very proud of it, and I think it's wonderful, and I really love it. But I didn't really take part in that. That was like my filmer John Glassberg's dream and his project, and he's the one that's poured so much heart and soul into it, along with a bunch of other people over the last 5 years. So now it does feel like this like collective team thing that we all kind of are a part of, and we all are super proud of. And I think there's many sides to that. It's very vulnerable in a way to kind of share these really intimate moments with everyone, with the entire world. So that was pretty intimidating and a bit stressful at first. But the film has had a lot of like positive response, and as you said, it has really impacted a lot of people in a very positive way. And I see that every time I go to a film premiere, and every time someone comes up and talks to me about how inspired they were, or how it influenced them in a certain way or made them feel a certain way. And that, right now it feels like the most important part is the fact that my story has, inspired so many people, especially young women and girls.
Yeah.
And, I think that that's just I just feel so grateful and fortunate that I can be in this position and kind of transition into that mentorship space. It feels really good, and it's been an amazing journey so far.
How was it for you to let go? For somebody, I mean, athletes are quite controlling. And hey, Adrian's laughing. And you control your gear, your equipment, your preparation, where you're going to go, who your teammates are, exactly how it's going to go. And in a film project, you let go of the creative control. You let go of your story. So how was that for you? You did the climb, you've done it. People are working on it, making a film, but you're not in the creative process, which I was in the same boat. How was that for you to just let go and be like, well, they're going to make something and I hope it's good. I have no idea. Like, how was that for you to just release control?
It was scary, for sure. It was really scary. I mean, I think as athletes, we kind of like go with the mantra of like control what you can control, and then you have to kind of let go of the rest. And is a lot of that aspect to what we do. And so, yeah, it kind of, it took some practice. It took some mantras and some coaching from people in my life to kind of get through that. But at the same time, you know, when you're involved in a project that's so intense for so many years, my friend John was the one behind the camera, and I had Adrian up there with me, and I had all these people that I trust so much. I think there was a lot of trust, and there was a lot of faith in the fact that my story would be told well and would be told in this beautiful way. And so I just had a lot of hope and a lot of trust. And then I do think, like, when I got sent the link to watch the film for the first time, I remember like Adrian being like, let's watch it tonight. And I just kept like pushing it off and being like, nope, I don't want to watch it. I'm good. I don't need to watch it. I don't need to see it. And he's like, why don't you want to watch it? And I was like, I'm not ready to see it. So it was very hard to watch the film the first time.
Yeah.
But then once I did watch it, I was like, okay, this is like actually an objectively good movie. So
yeah.
It was such a moment. We actually were like, oh, let's watch the first 15 minutes and then we'll stop and get a drink and then we'll make dinner and then we'll finish it. And we literally just sat like super uncomfortably, unplanned, with nothing in front of us for the entire film at the kitchen table. Like it. So even then, and that was an early version, but even then it was like, oh, there's something special here. And even Emily, who hates to watch things for herself, she will never listen to this podcast.
I won't listen to podcasts. Like, I won't watch. I don't do my voice.
And you were in. You were in.
We are so alike. And my husband and I had the same experience with Blood Road, but we were seeing the first edit of it, but we were in, you know, a studio at Red Bull, sitting there on the couch with the two, like, you know, the creative director and the editor, and then Greg and I sitting in the middle watching, you know, this, and just sort of, and everybody's quiet when it was done. They all look at me. But I was just crying because it was told beautifully. And I think when you give of yourself the way that you did, Emily, like, they can't do anything different with the story. And, and Adrian, I got to see the film a couple weeks ago, and I want to share some of my reflections, but then Adrian, I want to hear some of your impressions too.
Sure.
So when I watched it, I already gave you kudos for being, you know, one of the few female athletes with a feature-length documentary that is big time, you know, in the world, in the public eye, not just in the climbing world, not just in the sports world, which is huge. But I was really taken by that you were just you were vulnerable, you're honest, you failed a bunch, you know, fell a bunch, you went back, you know, you had doubts. You were just you, which I really appreciated. It was as if the camera wasn't there, which I think is because you trusted they were your friends who were your filmmakers. But I was also really moved, and I told you this at the Protect Our Winters thing, I was really moved by your support network that were almost primarily, you know, 99% all men, really high level elite male climbers, including your husband, Adrian. But I was really moved by the giving nature of all the men that you think are, you know, these hardcore rock climbers. They're not going to be supportive of someone else's project. And I was really moved by how committed all these guys were to your goal. And Adrian, you were a big part of that. Of course, Emily is your wife, but there were a bunch of other people that obviously you're not married to that were committed for years to this thing. And I just felt like all the lines of male, female, you know, stereotypes or anything were just blown out of the water by seeing how people could support each other, regardless of, you know, you had big projects, Adrian, of yourself, you know, Honnold had his other stuff going on, and so did the filmmakers. But so I just have to give you a lot of props on that. As far as the relationships that were happening in the film were just really cool. And it shows how nothing is really a solo effort in anything that we do in our lives. Adrian, I want to know from you, in sitting and watching the film with Emily now, you know, watching it in the theaters, watching audiences respond to it, what are you seeing is the big takeaway? And what are your sensations as you're kind of experiencing this?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously been just amazing to actually see it out in the world like this, and to get to, like you said, like, experience audiences' reactions. Because I knew what was in the film. I knew it was special, but you still never know like what's actually going to connect with different people, especially people from super different backgrounds. Maybe just a passing knowledge of climbing, maybe no knowledge, maybe a lot of knowledge, like the core audience. And we've now done shows in all those different demographics. But for me, what's been so special is exactly what's happened. And I think it speaks to what you were saying about all these people that chose to sacrifice time and energy to support M's effort. Like, I've been a part of M's life now for 13, 14 years. Like, I know exactly what's so special about her and what I've gotten to learn from. And it's all about this resilience and grit, but also just like brutal vulnerability and honesty to everything she's experiencing that I think is so rare. Like, many of us are brutally honest with the one person in our lives who we trust to that level. M's just that way to everyone, whether it's a 60 minutes interview or a huge crowd of people at a corporate speaking gig or at a crag where everyone knows she's the hero. She's the best climber at the crag, but maybe you're having a bad day or things like that. And M's just M through all of that. And I think that draws people to wanting to support and help that person who can be that open and real to achieve and also to share that with others. And that's what's happening in the film. I think people are consistently shocked with like, wow, we're seeing everything, especially in contrast to the Alex Honnold, who everyone's seen Alex's film, Free Solo, or, I assume almost everyone's seen it. And, it comes across like Alex is the robot. Of course, Alex is going to do this. There was never any doubt. And he's different than us. And what the audience to M's movie keeps seeing, I think, is themselves and keeps coming up and was like, I've done exactly that. I've been exactly like that. I've felt exactly that. And yet somehow you still did this world changing kind of like thing. Like, you've broken these barriers and achieved. And I think people really see themselves in it. And it inspires perhaps in a different way than when you see, the Alex of the world or the best sprinter in the world. It's just, they're just different humans. M's a human.
That is such and hopefully that's not too awkward, Emily. You're kind of sitting there.
No, it's great.
Yeah. So how do you, I mean, you're the first woman to do this. You're the best at this. You're the best at that. There is this, you're, North Face sponsored climber. You're like expected basically to be really friggin' good at everything you show up to do. And you're the first woman to do a ton of things. Like, does that put an armor up around you? Is that starting to be like, ooh, if I don't meet the expectations the world has for me, is that pressure that you feel or not?
I think I'd be lying if I said like that never feel that way. But honestly, I don't feel like I don't feel like I have a lot of pressure in that way because I actually don't feel like I'm the best at anything. I think I'm like I think I'm a good, well-rounded athlete, and I try really hard and I work really hard, and I'm just like everybody. I think I feel like I like kind of like the film portrays. Like I'm a person and I work really hard, I try really hard. Those are my strengths. But I'm not the best. And it's actually like a pretty comfortable place to be. Like, I think when you're at the top, the best, like the GOAT, I think that is like maybe one of the hardest positions to be in as an athlete. But I don't feel like I've ever been that way. I think I'm just pretty good at everything. I'm a multidisciplinary athlete. I enjoy all different aspects of climbing and I enjoy pushing myself. And I've sort of reinvented myself in climbing over and over again and gone back to, I think I'm pretty used to being kind of a beginner again and kind of having to start back from square one and learn. I've done that in climbing. I've done that in surfing, as we were talking before. I've done that in skiing when I picked it up after 15 years off. So I think I'm used to the process of kind of like people looking at me and thinking, oh, like she's still learning or she's kind of like just figuring this out. I've been in that position a lot now. And I think that's my strength is I'm quite good at it. I'm quite good at like being humble with things and kind of like, yeah, I'm quite good at just being open about, oh, I'm not the strongest. I'm not having a great day. I'm learning, I'm putting in the work. Like, I think people see me and they just see someone who works hard. And I think that is, yeah, my biggest asset. Like, I don't really feel that much pressure, honestly. Like,
Yeah, that's
I go to the gym any day and I will get burned off by all the 12 and 13-year-olds at the climbing gym. Like, that's just how it is.
yeah,
That's just life for me now. But I go outside and I can still really excel.
yeah.
So I just try to put in the work. And I guess I don't, the only pressure I feel is really from myself because I know what I'm capable of still.
Yeah. That's amazing that you feel that way. I think it's awesome. And I think it's pretty rare, in a world that's built on results and accolades and how, placements or climbs you do, like it's rare to be like you just know you can work really hard. I'm curious if because we know as athletes, often the harder you push, the more time you put in, the more effort you put in, it's often very linear results. You do the work, you get the results. Have you experienced and you've learned that as an athlete and you've got the grit and determination? Are there parts of your life now where that model of just gritting and pushing harder and working harder hasn't worked?
Yeah, I don't think it's linear.
Yeah. Yeah.
um yeah, I think, as rock climbers, I think, and maybe it's the same in cycling as well, like, you have probably more like mediocre to bad days and you have like those days where you feel like an absolute mutant and super strong.
Yeah.
And I think that the key is to enjoy those days just as much as you enjoy the days where you're kind of peaking, because in climbing we just don't get to experience success all that often if you really are pushing yourself.
Yeah.
The only way to really push yourself is to kind of just fail over and over again, and then also to recognize, like, when you're going too hard and when you need to kind of take a step back and rest and all of those things. It's been a process for me to kind of learn that and be okay with the down times and the kind of like rest periods. For me, I tend to just like switch sports and things like
Yeah.
that when things are like really not going well. um but yeah, especially now being parents, we try our best to balance our athletic lives and our professional lives and our relationship and our parenting and our social lives and all of those things, but we
Yeah.
definitely don't nail it all the time. So yeah, I've just gone with the motto of like, like, nothing's going to be perfect,
Yeah.
and something is better than nothing most of the time, and so we just do our best and try to balance it, but it is not linear.
I love that. That's awesome. So Adrian, I'll go to you now. Our mutual friend, Michelle Parker, we discussed balance. She was on the podcast a little bit ago, and she has this concept that I really loved, and I'm sort of been grasping onto, that there is no such thing as balance, but she likes to define it as harmony. And you think of like a musical score where there's always the percussion and the wind section and the violins and whatever, and they're always there. And sometimes, one is a little louder, one is a little softer, but they're all still there working together. And she has that concept about, all the aspects of our life, our sport, our profession, our family life, our relaxation, our spirituality, or however that looks, and how it's more like a symphony and a harmony instead of like balance of like a scale of like it's this way or it's that way or it's right in the middle. Like, it doesn't really operate that way.
Yeah.
So you are new parents, you both have businesses, you both have your personal goals. Do you have any strategies for harmony, like the Michelle Parker model of harmony, and like what's kind of loudest right now? And
I
yeah.
mean, gosh, I love the concept. I'm trying to imagine if our lives or my life is a symphony right now. If someone was having to listen to it, I'm not sure they would enjoy the performance. So I love the concept, and I also think it's really important to recognize, at least for me, that like I think I'm often not in tune or not in balance or whatever word we want to use, but it's what I'm striving for. And I think the big thing for me, because so much of my world, professional and passion, has been trying to climb and ski in the highest mountains in the world, where so many things are out of my control. I can control my training going in. I might be able to control my logistics and planning. I do my best to control like my team, like who I choose to go with, but that's really difficult, as you know, to line up teammates that have the same schedule and risk tolerance and financial ability and all these things. It often doesn't work out as planned. And then from there, so much more is out of our control. The weather, the political environment in the country we're trying to climb in, the other people on the mountain, the avalanche conditions. And like, as an early athlete, I think I thought I could get to the point where I could control all those things too. And what I realized through my early years of my career is how much was out of my control. And I needed to have just like extreme focuses on the place where I could affect change. And then I needed to accept all the things that I couldn't and be ready to adapt no matter how badly I wanted something to the reality on the ground, or I was going to get myself killed or my friends killed or my clients killed. And that's what I've tried to bring into this new juggle or balance of being a parent and a business owner and still trying to perform as an athlete, is control the things I can control, let go, trust the people around me, and like beyond, I'm on this ride, and it's a wild, awesome ride that I love a lot more than I don't love. But like for 2.5 years, like our lives were pretty in control 4 years ago before we decided to try to get pregnant. And like, you decided to try to get pregnant, and I decided to play whatever role I could. Like, like I definitely won't say our lives were easy, but we were kind of nailing it. And that's also, I think, part of why we both felt ready to like, well, let's just go get the shit kicked out of us again. And that's exactly what's happened. But we chose this.
Yeah. Well, there's so much to talk about in there. And it'd be funny if we could put a soundtrack to what does your family life, what does your symphony sound like right now?
Pretty sure we're not going to want to listen to it very often. And it's the whole Instagram versus reality, right? People come up to us all the time at like M's Film Now, and they're like, you guys are nailing it. You make us want to have kids. Like, you've shown it's all possible. And it's like,
It
great.
is. It's
like,
all possible.
It's all
just
possible. But
So
it's not pretty all the time.
It is possible. I think you hit on something really important that, where the mountains have taught you, and something that maybe you're taking into your everyday life or other parts of your life, is that you can control some things and you can't control other things, and you do have to let go. I think it's a lot easier to identify the uncontrollables on Everest, like the weather, or these external factors. How are you identifying and letting go of the uncontrollables, or just being like, okay, how do you identify in parenting what to let go of, or in your business what to let go of, where you could control your employees but you're like, no, let that go? Like, how?
I think exhaustion just helps to like force it, like it becomes very clear. Like, it's a little better now, but there were many months there where it's like, we feel like we're failing, or I'd come to Em and be like, I feel like I'm failing. And it's like, it's mostly just tiredness and the plate being too full. And so it's like, for me, I think it was like choosing, because actually probably you could control a lot more things if you only had 3 of those 10 things. Like, so for us, it was kind of like, for me, it was kind of prioritizing. And business is a great example. Like, luckily, I have a fantastic team at Alpenglow Expeditions. We've been doing it for 21 years. They're like my closest friends, as well as like my coworkers. And like, I remember just going like a month and a half into Aero being born and being like, I'm drowning. Like, I just have to stop. Like, if we lose 10% of our Everest clients this year because we can't answer all the phone calls, or if we, have to say no to this awesome film project, then like, that's just what we have to do, because I don't care as much about that as I do this. And I also want each of those other people to also be able to prioritize, whether it's their family or their professional skiing or whatever else they're doing, as well as doing a great job. But I think that's, for me, figuring out what I can control. It's mostly about like prioritization of where I am in my life today, what is most important. So I think physical performance for me is a good example of that too. Like I am not in peak performance shape in my cardio world at all right now. And I'm starting to think about whether I want to try to climb another big mountain for myself. But the biggest thing I'm trying to figure out with that decision is, am I ready to put 25 plus hours a week to just, base building, low intensity, zone true, to like listening to podcast training. And that's 25 hours that I'm not spending with or Aero or Alpenglow. It's a choice. And that's where I focus on, is prioritizing my choices.
And I think that's what Michelle meant by the symphony and all that, is like, right now your family is taking a little priority, but the business is still there, and it's, getting what it needs enough. And then, when you were launching your business, it was higher, and the film tour is pretty high right now. And so, I don't think you're making a terrible sounding symphony. But to your point, not everything can get 100% focus 100% of the time. Like it just
can't.
Yeah.
And like, I think, like owning that and acknowledging that, and like, especially for professional athletes or high performing recreational athletes, I think it could be really hard. It's like, you can climb this grade and you have, and like, of course you all want to be there again. And, but like, being okay with maybe still getting out and still playing and still performing and still trying really hard, but just knowing you're missing that 10% because you can't, or you don't choose to put the effort in, and coming to peace with that, I think is quite hard, but super important to a successful balancing act symphony.
Something that, I will say, I take from you as professional athletes, many professional athletes are really myopic, in just the highest performance. But just even in this discussion and what I know about you, you've got businesses, you've got films, now you have a family, you're mentoring other people. It's not just strictly like what's the hardest grade you can rock climb. It's much more well-rounded picture of being a professional athlete that I think is more the norm now. You're starting to see athletes have to be whole businesses instead of, just running the 100-meter and you've got all the coaches and everybody around you and all you have to do is run. That's not the life of an outdoor professional athlete. Definitely not. But I think it makes for more well-rounded humans that will have more longevity in a sports career. Maybe not competing at the highest level for your entire career, but being in the sports industry that you love for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think one way I've learned to balance it is like within climbing, you can pick different challenges that are either like logistically easier or not. Like, for example, like I have a film, the film is very all encompassing right now, right? With PR and film tours and everything. And so I chose to instead, like, I still really love rock climbing, and I'm like a little bit different than Adrian in that like I'm still a little bit fixated on the performance side. Like I really want to do well. I want to climb well. I trained really hard since having Aero, and I want to, put my best foot forward and keep trying hard. Awesome. And so I've kind of just shaped my goals around what's a little bit easier for the family. Yeah. Things that Aero can join in on. So I've been gravitating more towards sport climbing, so we can bring him to the cliff with our nanny, and I can try a hard sport route. It's also much easier to train for that. Like we don't have to go to Yosemite and like live in Yosemite for 3 weeks in the valley where it's kind of cold and miserable and spend like long days on the wall trying to do a hard route. Like instead we're going to go to Las Vegas and be in the desert and try some shorter routes. And so that's been my way of kind of like feeling a little bit more balanced, is just shifting my goal. Yeah. Like it's still really hard. Yeah. It's still a big challenge, but Aero can be there it's just easier to train for. I have a little bit like more time to focus on other things like the film and my family. And yeah, it still feels really fulfilling and fun.
I love that. I'm curious. So is it true that after you have a child that you're like stronger and you have this higher tolerance of pain and you can do more? Like I hear that about mom strength all the time.
Yeah.
Is that true?
I think I was really hopeful that would happen to me because people kept telling me. And then I didn't really realize how much breastfeeding would impact me.
Mhm.
And so it was like a whole year after having Aero that I was like kind of like waiting for waiting for that to happen, like the mom strength. But I do think it ultimately did happen. Like after I quit breastfeeding, I was like, oh my God, I feel like myself again. And I have so much energy. It's almost like you go through 2 years of life, like trying to maintain the same level of energy you had before, but you also have to take care of a newborn and be pregnant
Yeah.
and all of these things. And then once your hormones like regulate again and you stop breastfeeding, you have like the same energy that you had before, but it's almost like you just like it's almost like I learned how to use it in a more efficient way. Like I'm just much more like deliberate with my time. And when I go to the gym, it's my time and I have like a plan and I know what I'm doing. And yeah, I think maybe I can try a little bit harder now. That also has to be balanced with like expectations and having less time and feeling pressure with less time. But yeah, it's a real thing. I've climbed just as hard in the last 2 years as I did when I was like 18 or 19 years old. So I think
That's
that there's
awesome.
something to that.
And you mind me asking what's your age now?
I'm 39.
So 39, climbing the same or better grades than you were at 18. Like
Same grades, yeah.
same grade. Incredible.
Yeah.
That
Pretty
is,
rad.
Yeah. I mean,
but
and maybe I was just not training well when I was 18.
well, I was just going to say, I wasn't going to say that, but I was going to say there's so much that comes with age and experience that you often see older athletes doing better because now you do have the discipline. You know how to train. You know how to, you know a lot more than you knew at
Yeah.
18. You maybe had the sheer physical strength at 18, but now you've got like more of the whole performance package from
For
mindset
sure.
to rest to everything.
Yeah.
It's
And
really
and
cool.
climbing is a complicated sport. Like it does like cater, there's that it does cater to experience in a lot of ways. Like I kind of understand how to like have a project, how to approach it, how to rest
Mhm.
for it. It's a lot of there's a huge mental component as well. So I definitely think I've improved in some things while I've like lost other aspects.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe just sheer physical strength. Yeah, but so much else comes along with
Exactly.
being a lifelong, long-term athlete. Um, okay, I want to ask a little bit about instability because just inherent in athlete careers, in a guiding career, pretty much your careers are built on not knowing what's going to happen next year. Will you have the sponsorship? Will you have the clients? It's basically like this kind of like this scarcity mindset of always a little bit of fear base of like, ooh, am I going to have a job next year? And are we going to get clients? Are we going to get the next thing? And it's so different than a traditional career, whereas if you do a pretty decent job, you're going to keep your job, whereas as an athlete, you could win world championships, you could do, your best performance ever, and due to forces beyond your control, marketing budgets or whatever, you could lose your job. Or like you said, Adrian, the state of politics or people traveling to this place or that, they just might not sign up. So can you talk a little bit about the chosen sort of scarcity career, like living out of fear of like, will this continue to work? And is there any of
Yeah.
that for you guys built into the lifestyles you've chosen, the careers you've chosen?
I mean, I can speak to, I mean, for sure, first of all, there's a lot of that has been like a driving force, I think, through my whole professional life is the uncertainty of whether it's still going to be there next year. I mean, that is not obviously unique to professional athletes. That is small business in
Yeah.
America like something that's so wonderful and so incredible that there are so few barriers to starting businesses in the United States as compared to many other places I travel. But like the vast majority fail. And so what that's meant in my life has probably mostly been saying yes to way more than I should have in certain parts of my life, whether it's another job or another client or another sponsor or another trip. Because, and we had these conversations throughout our relationship, like this might never to come along again. Like the tap might turn off at any moment, just kind of like you described. I've lived a lot of my life that way. And of course, there's been negatives to that as well as positives. It's taken a long time to gain a confidence like, we are okay. This is a long-term path, and we have the right to be a little more balanced in what we say yes or no to. And now as I'm reaching that phase of mentoring a lot more young athletes and young guides, like how to move into this, many of those conversations are about being an athlete, or a guide, being a small business mentality, mindset from day one. You're a marketing department, you're a sales department, you're a customer service department, and your training department, all these things beyond just having pinnacle peak performance. And I think having that mindset early really helps. But I think the beauty of being a professional athlete and of learning that early as an athlete or a guide is like we learn to like grind and to suffer failure really, really early and over and over again. Like I think in M's world, like that was like dialed into you by the time you're like 16 or 17 years old. And for me, maybe slightly after that into my early 20s when I like left the whole like safe pre-med med school path that had been designed for me by my family and went to eating, peanut butter and jelly and bean burritos and having, zero possessions and no idea where my paycheck was coming from month to month. Like I think those skills set these people up really well for the future if they recognize the power in that ability to grind and work hard and accept failure on the way to success. That carries through to whatever someone chooses to do as their second career. I think outdoor careers, like we are and probably should be the vast exception that we're still like, I'm approaching 50 and still making a living as a professional athlete. That is not the path for most professional athletes. So it's figuring out what the skills are that you learn through your passion and then how they're going to apply.
Oh, that is so on point. That'd be, and it took me a while to realize I've been an entrepreneur my whole entire life. It took me a long time to realize that. But the fact that you're coaching young outdoor professionals, whether they're, professional athletes or outdoor professionals, like I think that that's setting people up for success to be able to stay in, circling back to the beginning of the conversation, stay in the place that they love and they want to work and they want to be, is treating it, like a little business, which it is.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I mean, I work so much with like, I used to do a lot of guiding for like MBA students from University of Pennsylvania, the Wharton School of Business. And then I've done a bunch for Stanford Business School. And like, these kids are super high achievers. They're getting like the most exclusive, like important pedigreed master's degrees out there on the planet. And it's super rad and it takes a lot of hard work. But like, I think just as powerful and valuable is like a trial by fire, trying to be a professional athlete, succeed or fail through your early 20s, teen years and early 20s. Like that's just as an important skill set and just as applicable to everything people are going to choose to do in life.
Yeah. My 20s, I learned to rock climb in Chicago at an indoor climbing wall and headed west and became a climbing guide and did some of that. And then I got involved with and became a part owner and manager of some of the first climbing gyms in the US, Recreation. I helped start all of those in the 90s. And I was like, I had a business degree. I was a climbing guide. I knew how to climb, but I didn't know how to like run a whole business and hire employees and do all that. And it was such a formative time for me of like working and climbing, but like having to like manage and run a whole gym and basically being given keys and
Yeah.
build them and like train the employees and like have to deal with part-time rock climbing employees who are like
Yeah.
dirt bags, and like it was so cool, and build a budget. But that really set me up for my own professional career, you know, when I left
Exactly right.
the gym scene. So that was a really cool time. Okay, I have, well, Em, did you have any points to add on that before we jump on?
No, that's great. We can move on. Adrian's really good at speaking to those things. I've learned a lot from him.
I mean, yeah,
Aw.
we learn a lot from each other. My husband is so different than I am as well, which actually is kind of a good complementary thing, that you're not exactly the same.
Yeah.
Either of you have a question? Have either of you read the book Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance?
I mean, I'm sure I did when I was like in college, like, or
Little
a little
bit
after, when I was in that period of like trying to find myself and travel and wearing my Tevas with socks and going to Nepal and stuff like that.
It was a little, I just reread it again, and it made me think about sport. It's made me think about sport, and a lot of the gist of it is that, you know, the book is not about motorcycle maintenance. It's about doing a craft, doing a thing. It doesn't really matter what the thing is, but doing it with intention and discipline and care and love and passion,
Mhm.
and it's kind of all about applying yourself to a thing. And so I'm, you know, when I think about sport and I think about, you know, my career, other, you know, that is just, it doesn't really matter that I do sport. It doesn't really matter what things I've won or achievements I've done. It's the fact of doing the thing.
Mhm.
So I'm curious, Emily, and we'll start with you, of reflecting on kind of what has rock climbing provided for you. Like, what do you learn from it? What has it shown you, you know, for your Zen in the art of rock climbing? Like, it's a developmental piece. It's your training ground for a lot of things other than climbing hard routes. So I mean, I know I'm
Yeah.
going a little deeper here, but
No,
what has rock
absolutely.
climbing taught you and given you and shown
I
you?
mean, yeah, I mean, I think climbing has been, yeah, it's my passion, it's my love. It's the thing that
Cat's got opinions.
it's the thing that we might have a UPS man approaching,
Okay.
which is
Totally
very
fine.
upsetting.
Okay.
It's very upsetting for her.
Oh, I got it. We have this thing in our household.
um yeah, I think that climbing has been my vehicle for like understanding myself, understanding my potential, um learning how to fail, how to be uncomfortable, how to struggle. It's everything, you know. It's been my way of seeing the world as well, which has been one of the most valuable things I've done, is get to travel and have new experiences and connect with other people. It's been my community, my upbringing. You know, I started climbing when I was 10 years old. I was in the climbing gym. That's where I had my friends and my community, and I just grew up in the gym. And then I grew up in the competition scene. So yeah, it really has formed me into who I am and taught me how to fight for things, how to work hard, how to persevere. It's taught me what I'm capable of, and it's taught me to believe in myself. Um, yeah, it's been all the life lessons essentially, and it's also taught me how to listen to myself and trust myself when I maybe am going too hard. You know, and how to like be kind to myself, I guess.
That's awesome. Adrian, okay, so if climbing wasn't your Zen in the art of motorcycle maintenance, wasn't your discipline, can you imagine like what else could have provided the sort of life lessons and structure for you? Can you think of any?
Yeah, I mean, it's both impossible to imagine and for me, like, super easy to imagine. But kind of to your point of why this book, and that it's not about the specific activity. Like, I, I hope I would have been able to find the same passion, the same like creation of team that leads to success, that same like willingness to fail on the path to something bigger. I think it's very easy for me to say if it wasn't climbing, it would be skiing, because I've kind of done the same thing in skiing. But if it wasn't skiing, I now fly a small plane, and for the past 7 years, I've put a huge amount of my personal hobby time into becoming a competent pilot. And I see so many similarities, even though the physical piece isn't as transcendent. The mental and decision making piece
Yeah.
is, and so I've always been someone, had I gone that path to medical school, I think I would have found total happiness and passion and challenge, and hopefully been a great doctor. And I think there are so many different paths to these life lessons that we're talking about. I think in some ways my path has been harder because it's non-traditional, but it's also been easier because the mountains are such a natural place to form strong bonds with other human beings. The goal is so simple in mountains. It's did you stand on top and come down alive, or did you not?
Yeah.
That's it. It's so simple. So in some ways, I think I chose a simple path to learn these lessons that I've learned along the way, and get to where I am. But I in no way think it's the only path, or would even have been my only path.
Yeah, it's a beautiful reflection. And I totally agree with you that something that involves a physical practice is just such a quicker gateway to learning, because there is the physical, and not only are you learning emotionally, spiritually, relationship wise, but you're also increasing your physical health at the same time. And so it's like this all encompassing thing where flying a plane, you are getting that discipline and a lot of that. But as a multitasker, I'm like, why not get physically healthy at the same time too?
Right.
Be in nature, because there's all these other being in nature is just an automatic, feel good thing, or climbing a mountain, like you said, is a clear goal for people. So I'm a huge advocate, as we talk about mentors, of getting people outside moving. I know you both are, whether it's climbing or biking or whatever, because I do believe the world would be a better place if everybody went outside and went for a run or something.
Hands down. That has been the fundamental through line of everything I do, whether it's storytelling of my own adventures, it's trying to encourage people to go outside, or whether it's mountain guiding and taking people on these actual experiences. It's we're in 100% agreement. I think it is better for human beings and better potentially for communities. Those experiences just offer so much power.
And Emily, with your film Girl Climber, you're inspiring generations of girls and women to believe and to get outside and see something that seemed impossible that isn't impossible. So, I mean, yeah, amazing what you're both doing. I have one last question, and it's another little bit of esoteric, because I did just finish reading Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. But I came across this concept in Zen Buddhism, that this word ma, and what it means is it's basically the concept of the role of empty space. And so if we go back to the symphony sort of analogy, it's like the time in between the notes, the silence in between the notes, or in a flower arrangement, it's like the space you leave between the flowers that make it look more beautiful. And it's emphasizing the importance of what is absent, not a void or not something missing, but intentionally leaving something absent. So the last question I'll have for both of you is, what have you removed, or what is absent that is actually in your life right now that's creating a beautiful space, that's creating ma? So who wants to go first?
What is absent?
I mean, I might start with a cop out, which is that idea of space, or an absence, or the between the notes, is absolutely one of my weaknesses in life. And I think one of the frustrations that Em and I in our relationship struggle with is I really struggle. I was going to say, I'm basically unable to have a moment of space with nothing going on. I just don't do it. If I'm not working on my laptop, then I'm running. If I'm not running, then I'm playing with Aero. And he's got to be working on a skill and getting better at something. If I'm not doing that, then I'm doing errands. And if I'm not doing that, then I'm cleaning. Like, I've lived that way for a long time, and I'm trying to find my way to, I think a great example is like probably every free moment I would just fill with a podcast. And like, that's something where I'm like, maybe I should just go back to running without podcasts, like just to let my brain be free. I'm still doing something, I'm running, but maybe I'm not also filling my brain. And that's a tiny first step to try to give myself a little space.
Yeah, I think that's huge. Our brains are getting so much information, and I struggle with the same things you do as well. And being injured with a concussion was the hardest thing. Is I couldn't just sit there. And I'm learning, but so
so I'll keep working on my ma.
Well, I think a good takeaway for somebody to, especially for athletes, is to maybe leave the headphones at home, and listen and see what you notice and hear your breath. And I do that a lot with cycling, where I just want to be alone with my thoughts. So that's your takeaway homework, Adrian.
Yep. So- Absolutely. 100%. You're totally correct. I'm the guy who would like go to a yoga class and also have my headphones in listening to like an aviation training video, It's like
oh wow. Okay. Emily.
It's a lot. It's a lot. It is one of our things. Like, Adrian's always got to be doing something all the time. He has a lot. I always say he has a lot more going on than I do. I think my ma is that I've tried really hard to kind of like take out the multitasking from my life in a lot of ways. Like, I do run without headphones sometimes. I do things without like Strava, for example. Like, I'll just like go do something just to do it.
And you don't tell anyone about it?
No. Like, particularly with things that I don't do like professionally, like running or like going for a walk or something like that.
Definitely Strava running the aisles at a grocery store.
Yeah,
like I Strava everything.
I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm not, and I've started like, I do less social media now. Like, I take off Instagram on my phone for periods of time. And just like, I think playing with a toddler could be a form of ma, because you're like, you're not really doing anything but like some sort of like crazy make-believe game that's like in my son's head that like makes no sense, but it's like his thing, and you're just kind of immersing yourself in his imagination and what he's doing. And it's really hard sometimes to like just sit and play with him and like not want to be doing other things, because it does feel like so still in some ways. And so like there's like a sort of like emptiness that's also very full. So I think maybe that's interesting, like playing with a little kid, or kind of just like giving someone like that all of your attention is it can be quite challenging, and it can be really interesting, because it can be like boring, but it can also be very interesting if you let it be. So I think that would be my form, is like spending time with our kid without like wanting to be doing something productive.
It's really putting your attention in what you're doing in that moment. Yeah, that's really beautiful. Adrian, Emily, this has been such an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for sharing a bit of your world with us. And we will, in show notes, put all the cool things. I'm really enjoying the Danger Stick TV is back in action. So share a lot of your life that way, which, that's quite inspiring for people. If it can seem a little weird to let people into your world like that, but as we've talked about, you're definitely helping show people what's possible with a family and professional sports careers. And it's pretty amazing. I'm a big fan now. Big fans.
Thanks,
Thank you
Rebecca.
So much. Thanks for having us. This was fun.
Well, and I'll just say I live right near a little backcountry airstrip in Idaho. So fly literally a quarter mile away. If you want to come for a visit, Adrian, you can just fly here and we can running without headphones in the mountains.
Absolutely. I would love to make that happen. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for your time. And be good. We'll see everyone on the next episode.
Hey, it's a long and dusty road and a hot and heavy load. Folks I meet ain't always kind. Some are bad, some are good, some have done the best they could. Some have tried to ease my troubling mind. And I can't help but wonder where I'm bound, where I'm bound. Can't help but wonder where I'm bound.